in each one of these, and it's gonna play my song again. We're not gonna look at all of these because this is my AP Euro, so it's way more in depth than we need to look at. But we look at these two different geographic locations differently than we will look at as it's all together. So Italian Renaissance, the paintings and the sculptures will be very different than what we look at with the Northern Renaissance. So let's go through this. So one of the first things is perspective, it's depth. And then when you look at that painting, the idea is that it looks linear 3D. Italian painters use mathematical computations to plot out and plan their paintings. None of this is random. None of it is filled with emotions versus things like Up There, Starry, Starry Night, right? Where it's just a jumble. This is very well thought out. It's planned. Everything is drawn out. And again, the idea is depth, that you see deep into the painting. And there's so then we have this again, Greek and Roman influence, secularism, humanism, an individual, freestanding, the power of an individual. That's humanism. Symmetry and balance. Again, a lot of portraits, and again, symmetry and balance. So again, when we look at this one, this geometric, even though that baby looks really, really weird. This again is Leonardo da Vinci and the Madonna with a pomegranate. The shading and shadowing of, again, this is the idea of humanism and the individual. So here are some of the sculptures done in bronze. These are, again, part of this Renaissance, perfecting the human being and showing the power of the individual. Architecture is absolutely stunningly beautiful. Buschetti builds this dome that is architecturally a marvel. Still really don't know how he built it. It's made of brick, which brick domes usually don't stand very well. Commissioned, again, it's absolutely gorgeous on the inside. Don't know what his secret is because we don't know what those little hook things are for and the brickwork. There's an awesome book about this if anyone would like to read it. And there is his big giant dome. Other domes, again, famous from the Renaissance time period. More of the artwork to show your wealth. These were panels of doors to decorate the cathedrals. And that door is gold. That's a gold-plated door that is not hung up because people would probably try to take it. It's back. They have a replica that they use. Here's different David. This is by Donatello in the beginnings of the Renaissance, as opposed to, and then there's David again. The individual, this is Leonardo. And I don't know how many of you have ever seen this before, and maybe you didn't know that that's Leonardo da Vinci's drawing of the perfect human anatomy. And that's Renaissance man. That's Leonardo's self-portrait. And lots of Leonardo. And this. And then notebooks. This guy had tons and tons of notebooks that he drew in. Again, don't know who Mona Lisa is. Oh, I thought I got right. The Last Supper, another one of his very important um, paintings. Perspective, detail. This is the refractory in Milan, and you could see there's the Last Supper painted in the back. This is where he wasn't such a good sculptor, but it's there. Plan of the city. He, again, spent a lot of time looking at the human body and gets a lot of things right, a lot of things not so right. This is one of his anatomy notebooks. Those of you that have taken any kind of biology or anatomy know that that is not what the inside of us looks like, but it's pretty good considering he hadn't seen really the inside of a human body to the extent where he could copy it. And again, these are just in his notebooks. These are his inventions, his flying machine, his tank, uh, his rapid fire guns. Can man fly? More of his. This is Michelangelo. There's David. It's giant size. It's like 9 feet. And there's the hands that are just very impressive. This is probably one of the most famous sculptures out of this time period. It's the Pieta. It's the Virgin Mary and Jesus after the crucifix. And again, if you think this is made out of marble, if you look down here at all these little scrolls and the detail in the wrinkles of her robe, it is incredibly impressive. And this is Michelangelo's sculpture. The Sistine Chapel, again, one of the greatest works of art of all time, is in and located in the Vatican. Michelangelo does that. He has to build a scaffolding to paint. You could see how enormous this is. This is down here a regular size altar, regular size pulpit to see and to be able to appreciate the vastness of this ceiling. Creation of the heavens, and that was the hand thing. This little poster, not necessarily this part, but this part right here is probably in every Hobby Lobby across the United States, or probably in any poster shop. You can find that creation. One of the things, we're going to stop on this one for a second. One of the things, again, when we're doing this comparison, is look at the colors and look at the texture of the work, right? This is painted on a wall. This is called a fresco. So there's not a lot of built up of layers of paint. The paint, the paint palette is very light color, pastel-y color, very, again, this humanist ideal human being painted as well. So Sistine Chapel again. More of the Sistine Chapel. This is the Last Judgment. This one's kind of disturbing. And then we get into lots of portraits. Renaissance painters painted lots and lots of portraits. This is the guy that wrote the book, The Courtier. And again, this idea of a gentleman. This is by Raphael. And now we're moving into Raphael's works. Again, this perspective, the depth. Raphael's Madonna. I don't know. We always discuss this in AP Euro, the babies, because they're in most paintings slightly terrifying. Like, were there not babies that they could do? Because the faces of these babies look like old men, right? I mean, a lot of you could argue that babies look like old men, but they don't look like that. There's some disturbing looking babies. in these paintings. Again, perspective. This also is another thing that probably a gazillion of you have seen and didn't know that it was from Raphael. I think these little angel babies were really popular like in the 90s. Some of your great grandmas might still have pictures of these little angel babies somewhere. But that is also part of a very famous Renaissance painting as well. Like, see, look at that baby's face. Oof, doesn't look like a baby. More Madonnas. This School of Athens is also probably one of the most famous paintings of Raphael. This is the School of Athens. This is definitely a painting that combines what the Renaissance is, this rebirth of Greek and Roman ideals, in that they've put Raphael's painted this like in Greek times, people wearing the togas, talking about enlightened and intellectual activities. You could see again the depth of the painting. We feel like we're looking into something, and there are a gazillion. I just have three, but there are a gazillion people represented in that painting from the Renaissance. It's called the School of Athens, and we can see again and again. Look at the light color. Again, the light touch of the paint, and that will be important when we get to our look at our Northern Renaissance painters. There's Plato, Aristotle, Pythagoras, Euclid. That is up at the top, the Liberation of St. Peter. Don't know that I have many more in this one to show. Oops. This is another very famous painting as well. Botticelli, The Birth of Venus. This is really a huge painting. It extends on both sides. And I think many of you have seen portions of this before. But again, the ideal human body, the light colors as well. Really, really pretty lady. Okay, so now we're going to move to, and it's probably going to cut my show off. We're going to move to this one, Northern Renaissance. And we will see a remarkable, or you should see a remarkable difference. The Northern Renaissance is going to take place up in what is Northern Germany, Belgium, Denmark, the top part of Europe that we'll call the Northern. It's called Flanders, but there is obviously not a country called Flanders anymore. And we'll see, again, a really different look at these paintings. So still kind of the same idea that we're looking through something, that we have depth, but you can see that the colors get richer, like it gets a little darker. And that will be one of the things that we will look at throughout. And also the detail is much, if I can use the word, much more detailed. So for instance, it is kind of hard to see, but look up here at this crown and also down here at this floor. And if you could get up close, you could see the detail in these paintings are outstanding and almost defies logic that someone could actually paint that and we're not looking at a photograph. This is the Adoration of the Lamb, the Ghent altarpiece. Has anyone ever seen the movie The Monuments Men? If you're looking for, and those of you that like good war movies, this is a World War II movies about monuments men who at the end of World War II went around and recollected all the artwork that the Nazis had stole or tried to steal. And one of the things that they look for throughout this whole movie is this Ghent altarpiece. This is all of it together, but we don't have all those pieces anymore. The Nazis got away with a couple of them. Don't know where they are. Probably they're destroyed at this point. But this is the Ghent altarpiece, and it is, again, by Van Eyck, one of the most important Northern Renaissance man. That movie is an excellent movie if you're ever looking for a really good movie about art and war, two things that don't usually go together well, but it does in that movie. So this is the Ghent altarpiece. Crucifixion again. See again the detail and the depth of the colors that change. So this is one of my favorite paintings to understand the difference between Northern Renaissance and Italian Renaissance. So hopefully already looking at this, you see the difference of the colors. It still has depth, and we're going to look at that in a second. It still has great depth, but you see the colors are really different, and that looks thick, if I can use that word to describe artwork. It looks thick, like there's a lot of paint on that painting. The colors are very rich, and this detail is extraordinary. So if we look down here, just at the beginning of this, if we look at these shoes down here, we look at each little ruffle of her gown. What we're going to look at in our next slide is this back here. Okay, so we're going to take a look. You can kind of see that there's something in that mirror, but as we look closely at that mirror in our next slide, this is just absolutely amazing to me. That's what's in there. The backward picture of that. So in this mirror, we're actually seeing the front part. There's the minister getting ready to marry them. We see he has signed it. Look at this. Look at the detail of that. Almost looks like a painting. We have the broom that's got the wear mark from where it's been put up so many times, little marks on the wall. I cannot even fathom that someone can paint like that. It is just utterly spectacular to look at. I think so. And again, another painting of the crucifixion. Again, look at the depth of the colors as opposed to what we had just seen, like in the Last Supper of Da Vinci. And we'll look at close-ups again of these two paintings as well. The folds in the shroud, the pen that she has, even the dirty nails, the tears. Well, this is one of my favorites. The Ugly Duchess. Isn't she awesome? This is humanism, the idea of human individuals, as opposed to humanism in the Italian Renaissance, which drew people perfect. This obviously does not. One of the things that and this really is a lady, and that really is what she looks like. In this time period, women wore a lot of wigs, and we also have a different idea of what beauty is. And if you see her giant high forehead, women in this time period would pluck their hair. So if ladies, if you take one hand and draw a circle to the other side of your ear, you would have that hair removed to give yourself a really high forehead and then to make it easy for wigs. The thing that always throws me about this is I always think she has more than 5 fingers on that hand, but she really doesn't. There's a couple other ones that are coming up, again, that provide detail. So again, in this mirror, you can already see that there is an image in this little mirror. So we're going to look at that, look at this book. We're going to look at in depth at the money as well. And so we'll look at those two things. I can't believe that. Stained glass, another window, a building out there, a person, and then the individual pearls, the money. I'm going to move through France because France does not get a good, that's like how I could draw. Like, he does not look like that. Francois. That's a horrible picture of Francois. But what France does have is architecture. And this is the beauty of the architecture of France in this time period. Germany. Well, we got some weird ones here. All right. So, oh wait. So when you look at the assignment for today and tomorrow, you'll be looking at the differences between the Italian Renaissance and the Northern Renaissance. It's a chart. You do not have to write anything like typically with our chart. You're going to answer questions. So you're going to fill in the chart, and then I think there's 3 questions that ask you to put into words the differences between Northern Renaissance and Italian Renaissance. The Northern Renaissance, you will have to use your textbook. That is chapter 13, section 2. And it is in that section where you will get all your information about the Northern Renaissance. You will also need to use the textbook to get some of that information about the Italian Renaissance. Pay particular attention to the vernacular literature. Vernacular means you write in the words of which you speak. So that will also be an important part. All right, so do we have any questions about this? If you need to look back at this, I do have it recorded. I will put it on Canvas. So if any of you just would like to look back at it because you like to look at art like I do, or you need it to answer any of the questions, it will be, I will have it put on there.